Hello and welcome to MATLAB course. This is Salim. In this video I'm going to talk about how to export matrix from MATLAB to Excel or a text file using the writematrix function. So the writematrix function is a very new function. It's I think released in 2018, and this is very reliable and very nice tools in which if we need to write a matrix, for example, the general form for that is write, and then this is the matrix which we need to export, and then this is the output file name. Where do you need to keep that matrix? And sometimes we have another general form which we need to write a matrix with the name X to the output file names, but we need to define some properties. And regarding the output file name, so if we just put the, like, for example, my file and then with the extension, for example, xlsx, this is for Excel, or .csv, which is the comma delimited file, or the text file, for example, with any separator like tab delimited, it will saved in the current folder. But if you need to save this file in a different place, you should provide a full path for that. And regarding the property name and property value, for example, if we need to specify the range where the file we need to keep this matrix, where to keep this matrix, this only applicable for Excel file, and we can just write the range and then specify the corner 1 to corner 2, for example, from A1 to C5. And another option is the write mode with append. This will happen, for example, if this orange data you add to the file, and later you need to add this purple data after this, like the orange data. So we export the first data and we need to append or add another data or another matrix to the file. We can do that using the write mode and then the append. And the third option could be if you use the Excel file and you have different sheet and you need to export this, for example, output in a specific sheet, you can write sheet and then comma and then write the sheet name, so it will save in that sheet. But this is only again in Excel case. And finally, if you are writing the data to the text file, so you should define which separator or delimiter will be used. If you're using Excel, you don't need to do that. If you use CSV, the default is comma delimited, so you don't need. But in the case file, in the text file, you should define the delimiter. For example, comma delimiter or tab delimiter or semicolon, whatever you wish, right here. And this is in the case of text file only. So let's now go to MATLAB to check how this will happen. This is MATLAB main window. And let's open the live script. We have the question. So if I click in the download, I can find lecture 3 exercise or practice. If I just open here, first I need to minimize the command window and the workspace, and maybe minimize this output. And this is different video for string in MATLAB, and then input function, and then the display function. And finally, we have the example for the export matrix from like the MATLAB to Excel file or text file. So the question we have, they say that the matrices x1 and x2 have the following value. So x1 is 3 rows, 4 columns with this value, and x2 have 2 rows, 4 columns with this value. The requirement is we need to write the matrix x1 to Excel file with the name export underscore case1.excel. So we need to save x1 in Excel file. And then we need to write the matrix x2 to the same Excel file, but we need to put this x2 in another spreadsheet with the name x2 data. So to do so, we have x1 and x2 defined, so we don't need to write that. We just need to export. To export that matrix, so we need to write. If we check here, MATLAB is giving us the alternative with things have a write. And we just write MATLAB like the write matrices, it's the first option here. So if we write like the write matrices and then we put the name, which is x1, and then this is the name, and then we should define the location or the file name. MATLAB is giving us the tips about that, so we need to know the file name for that, and the file name is export underscore case1.xl. This is the file, and we don't have any option now. We don't need the range, we don't need to, of course this is Excel, we don't have the delimiter, we don't need to define the sheet name, something like that, so we don't have option just like that. Let me just like have the output folder so we can check what will happen when we just run the code. So let me adjust the window, and then let me open download, where the location. Let me maximize this window a little bit, and then let me here run, and just from section run the section. So if I run the section and open this file now, if we just zoom in, so we can see this is 3 rows with 4 columns, exactly the same as x1 here. So with the same value of x1, so we could have, and the spreadsheet name is sheet1 because we didn't define the spreadsheet. And if you need to write the second x2 to the another spreadsheet, so we need to write matrix and then write x2, and then for the file name, and then we need to define the sheet, so in that sense sheet, and from that sheet we can write the sheet name. So the sheet name here we can write, for example, x2 underscore data. So if I just run the section now and then open the Excel file again, now we have 2 sheets, sheet 1 and x2 data 2, and in the x2 we have, in the x2 data we have the x2 data, and in the sheet 1 we have the x1 data as we requested. So it is very easy and straightforward. And in the second question, the question is, we have the same matrices x1 and x2, and we need to write x1 to a CSV file with the name export underscore case2 CSV. Let me take the file name, and then append the matrix x2 like to the above CSV. So we need to put x1 and then append the x2 under the x1 in the same file. To do so, we need to write matrix, and then from write matrix we will put first x1 and x1 in the file name, which is like the export underscore case2 CSV file. And because this is CSV, it's known as a comma delimiter, so we don't need to define the separator or the delimiter here. So just run the section, and we have the CSV file here. If we check the CSV file here, so we can export this CSV file, we can open, using the any text editor. If I right click and then open with, for example, Notepad++ or WordPad, or the Notepad or Notepad++ both is okay. I will open using Notepad++, so we can see here 16, 14, 1, 2, same, 3 rows, 4 columns separated by comma, no problem for that. So let me close, and of course if I double click to open in Excel, we will have the same for value here. So we have the same for like 3 rows, 4 values here. And if I need to append the value, so I will write matrices and then define x2 with a file name, which is like the export underscore case2.csv, and then in this sense we need to append, so we need to change the write mode. So we need to write, once I write, it will pop up write mode immediately for me. So I will write write mode, and then the case is append. So once I write append, it's clear for me. If I just run the section now, if I open this file using Notepad++, we can check now this is x1 and this is x2. So now the file having both like x1 and x2, and they append after like that. if we compare here, we put x1 first from here, and then x2 append after the file. So it's just under that x1. And the third question, it say that for same two x1 and x2, we need to write the following header first. We didn't take the header. We know just about the matrix and we export the matrix. So we need to put the header station 1, station 2, station 3, station 4 in the first row of the text file. And this text file is export case3.txt with a tab delimiter. So let me take the x1 and x2 from here because they doesn't change. So let me just copy and paste. And the question for you, how to enter the header. But if we think the header is a string, and string, as we talked in the previous video about the string in MATLAB, can be defined as scalar vector matrix. So we can define the header as a vector, and then we can write the vector as a normal vector to the file, and then the other things we can append to the file. So in the first, we need to write the header, and then we need to write x1 matrix to the same text file from the second row, because the first row is the header, and from the second row, it should be x1. And then append x2 to the same file. So this is kind of creating tab delimiter file or a text file with a tab delimiter to separate the value, and then enter the header in the first, and then append x1, and then append x2. So it is very easy. We need to define here the header, which here we have the square matrices, and then we should put double quotation for station 1, and then double quotation for station 2, and then double quotation for station 3, and then double quotation for station 4. Now we define the header. Let me put semicolon and then enter, and then we need to write a matrices. And this matrices, I will write in the first place header, yes? So I will write here header. And of course, the second thing is the file name. So the file name here is export underscore case3 text. So I will take this. And in the case of text file, we should define the delimiter. So we should write here the delimiter case. So I will write delimiter. Once I write delimiter, it will continue for me by pressing tab. And then the delimiter here, it will be tab. If I just run this section, we have error here. And the error is saying that .text. And once we run again, so if we check the file now, using any text editor, like for example, Notepad or WordPad or Notepad++, if I just open, I can see this the header 1, 2, 3, 4, and everyone is spaced by using tab because this is tab delimiter. So we can now know what is the shape of the file. If we need to append the x1 for the data, let me just minimize this part and then write x1. I need to write x1, so I will write and then matrix, and then I will write x1. And for the file again, which is the same file name, and with delimiter is same, which is tab. But the problem is here. If you just do that and then run the section, and then I open the file using Notepad++, the header was removed. The reason for that, because you wrote without using append. But if we need to add more data, we should write in that sense. Here we need to the write mode, which is in this case append. If I run this section now and open the file, I can check here that the header is existing and then x1 is existing. We need to add x2. It is exactly the same as x1. Let me just copy and then paste, and instead of x1 it will be x2 and then export to the same tab delimited and same write to like the write mode is append. It's the same if we just run the section and then open the file. We can check here that we have the header, and after the header we have 3 rows and 4 columns for x1, and then we have x2. So like that, it's very easy. If you need to enter the header, just please write the header at a vector string and then add it first, and then add any array you wish as an append using the write mode append, so it will be very easy for you to do so. That's all for that video. Thank you. Bye bye.